It began not with a public announcement or a royal ceremony, but with a sealed envelope tucked away for decades among the Queen Mother's most private papers. Few knew it existed. Even fewer knew what it contained. Yet when King Charles finally unfolded that final letter and read the words written by the woman who had shaped generations of Windsor history, something inside him reportedly shattered. What started as a forgotten family document suddenly became the center of a royal storm. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. For years, the archives of the royal household had been viewed as carefully protected vaults of history, preserving memories, correspondence, and decisions that helped shape the modern monarchy. Hidden among those records, according to reports circulating within royal circles, was a letter unlike any other. It was not a state document. It was not a constitutional directive. It was something far more personal. Written by the Queen Mother during the final chapter of her remarkable life, the letter reportedly carried reflections that were never intended for public debate. It was said to contain thoughts about family, duty, loyalty, and the future of the crown itself. Yet somehow, despite decades of scrutiny by historians and archivists, the document remained largely unknown. The discovery of the letter has sparked endless questions. How could something of such significance remain hidden for so long? Why was it preserved without wider knowledge? And perhaps most importantly, why did it emerge now? At a moment when King Charles finds himself carrying one of the heaviest burdens in modern royal history. According to various accounts, the existence of the document first came to light during a review of archived royal materials. What began as a routine examination reportedly turned into something much larger when officials realized the identity of its author and the sensitive nature of its contents. Almost immediately, whispers began moving through palace corridors. Some believed the letter should remain private forever. Others argued that its contents could provide valuable historical context for future generations. As those debates quietly unfolded, one name reportedly surfaced again and again throughout private discussions: King Charles. Sources suggest that once the monarch learned of the document's existence, he personally requested access to it. Those familiar with royal protocol understand how unusual such a request can be. Charles had spent decades living through some of the most scrutinized chapters in royal history. There were few family stories he had not already heard, and few perspectives he had not already considered. Yet this was different. This was a message from someone whose influence over him stretched back to childhood. The Queen Mother was not simply a relative. She was one of the defining figures of his life, a symbol of continuity, resilience, and unwavering devotion to the institution he now leads. Reports suggest that when the letter was finally placed before him, Charles approached it with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Nobody knew exactly what words awaited him inside. Nobody knew what judgments, concerns, or hopes the Queen Mother may have committed to paper all those years ago. As he began reading, however, those nearby allegedly sensed an immediate shift in his demeanor. What started as a private moment of reflection reportedly became something far more emotional. References to the monarchy's future appeared throughout the document. Reflections on sacrifice and responsibility reportedly echoed from one page to the next, but it was the sections involving Camilla that allegedly carried the greatest emotional weight. According to palace whispers, the Queen Mother's observations were deeply personal, shaped by decades of experience witnessing both public triumphs and private turmoil within the royal family. For Charles, every sentence reportedly reopened memories he believed had long settled into history: the struggles, the criticism, the difficult choices, the relentless tension between personal happiness and public duty. Senior aides, according to various accounts, were stunned by the intensity of the king's reaction. This was not merely a monarch reviewing a historical record. It was a grandson hearing the voice of a beloved family figure one final time. As questions continue to circulate about what exactly was written in the letter and why it remained hidden for so many years, One thing has become increasingly clear. The document did more than reveal forgotten thoughts from the past. It reignited conversations about legacy, responsibility, and the enduring influence of those who helped shape the crown. Yet even amid the mystery surrounding its discovery, the true shock was not that the letter existed, it was what the Queen Mother had allegedly chosen to say about Camilla when she believed history would be her only audience. For years, royal historians believed the Queen Mother's final reflections had already been catalogued, archived, and understood. Yet whispers from within royal circles suggest one document escaped public knowledge entirely. Preserved alongside personal correspondence and family records, the letter reportedly carried observations never intended for headlines. It was not written for political advantage or public approval. It was written as a final act of honesty from a matriarch who had witnessed nearly a century of royal triumphs and crises. The deeper palace officials reportedly looked into the document, the more extraordinary its existence seemed to become. The Queen Mother was never merely a respected member of the royal family. She was, in many ways, one of the architects of modern royal endurance. She had witnessed abdications, wars, scandals, political upheaval, and generational transitions that transformed Britain and the monarchy itself. Her papers, correspondence, and personal reflections were treated with immense historical importance, because they offered a rare glimpse into how one of the most influential royal figures interpreted the events unfolding around her. That is why reports of an undisclosed letter immediately captured attention among those familiar with royal history. If such a document truly existed, it had the potential to reveal thoughts that had never been filtered through public statements, official biographies, or carefully managed narratives. According to various accounts, the letter was never intended to become a public artifact. Instead, it was allegedly preserved under special instructions, designated for future review by members of the royal household when the time was deemed appropriate. Whether that timing was connected to a specific event, a future monarch, or simply the passage of years remains unclear. Yet what is clear is that the document carried an unusual sense of significance. Palace insiders reportedly viewed it not as a routine piece of correspondence, but as a final reflection from someone who had spent her life defending the institution of monarchy against threats both external and internal. Every sentence, according to those familiar with discussions surrounding the letter, was said to carry the weight of experience accumulated across decades of service. As word quietly spread among senior figures that King Charles would eventually review the document, anticipation reportedly began building behind palace walls, not because anyone expected a shocking revelation, but because of the identity of the woman who had written it. The Queen Mother belonged to a generation that viewed duty as sacred, sacrifice as necessary, and continuity as the lifeblood of the crown. Throughout her life, she repeatedly emphasized that individuals may come and go, but the monarchy must endure. Reports suggest those themes appeared throughout the letter itself. References to responsibility, perseverance, and the burden carried by those born into royal service allegedly formed the backbone of her final reflections. Yet alongside those broader themes, another subject reportedly surfaced repeatedly within the document: Camilla. For years, public opinion surrounding her had shifted dramatically. She had travelled a difficult road from controversy to acceptance, from outsider to queen. But according to palace whispers, the Queen Mother's observations were not focused on popularity or public image. Instead, they reportedly examined Camilla's place within the larger story of the monarchy and the responsibilities attached to it. Those suggestions alone were enough to fuel speculation among insiders, long before Charles ever laid eyes on the letter. By the time the document was finally prepared for the king's review, curiosity had reportedly evolved into genuine tension. Some believed the letter would provide comfort. Others feared it might reopen wounds that had never fully healed. What nobody seemed able to predict was the emotional impact it would ultimately have on Charles himself. For this was not simply a historical document waiting to be studied. It was the voice of a woman who had guided generations of royals, reaching across time with words that could no longer be clarified, softened, or explained. and as anticipation grew around the document's contents, few were prepared for the emotional conflict it would reportedly awaken in the king himself. By the time the letter reached King Charles, he was no longer the prince struggling to balance personal happiness with royal expectations. He was the monarch. Yet according to palace whispers, the words on those pages transported him back through decades of difficult choices, public controversies, and private heartbreak. Every sentence reportedly seemed to reconnect him with moments many believed had long been settled. Suddenly, the past was no longer history, it was standing directly in front of him. For much of his life, Charles had existed between two worlds. On one side stood duty, tradition, and the immense expectations attached to the future king of the United Kingdom. On the other stood personal desires, private loyalties, and emotional struggles that often unfolded beneath relentless public scrutiny. Few people understood the cost of that balancing act better than the Queen Mother. She had witnessed his journey from childhood to kingship. She had watched him endure criticism, navigate family tensions, and carry responsibilities that would have overwhelmed many others. That is why, according to reports, reading her final reflections felt less like opening a historical document and more like reopening an entire chapter of his life. As Charles continued through the letter, palace sources suggest memories began resurfacing with extraordinary force. Not merely memories of public events, but memories of private moments hidden behind official schedules and royal obligations. The years of controversy surrounding Camilla reportedly lingered beneath many of those recollections. Long before she became queen, her presence had become one of the most debated subjects in modern royal history. Every decision, every appearance, every development seemed to generate new headlines and fresh criticism. According to royal observers, the letter appeared to revisit those difficult years, not with judgment, but with reflection. And for Charles, that distinction may have made the experience even more emotional. What reportedly struck him most was not a single sentence, but a recurring theme woven throughout the document. Sacrifice. The Queen Mother allegedly returned to that idea again and again. The sacrifices required by monarchy, the sacrifices demanded by family, the sacrifices imposed by duty. Charles understood those burdens better than almost anyone alive. He had spent decades waiting for a role he could never fully prepare for, while enduring challenges that often blurred the line between public service and personal suffering. Reading those reflections reportedly forced him to confront the painful reality that every major decision in his life had come with consequences, not only for himself, but for those around him. The deeper he moved into the letter, the more those old wounds allegedly resurfaced. Family divisions that had once dominated headlines, relationships strained by conflicting expectations, moments when private happiness appeared incompatible with public responsibility. According to those familiar with palace discussions, the document did not attempt to provide easy answers. Instead, it reportedly acknowledged the complexity of those struggles in a way few official records ever could. For Charles, that honesty may have carried extraordinary weight. Here was someone who had lived through multiple generations of royal turbulence, recognizing the human cost hidden beneath the institution's polished image. Reports suggest that by this stage, the king's emotional response had become impossible to ignore. Senior aides who expected a thoughtful review of a historical document allegedly found themselves witnessing something far more personal. The monarch, known for discipline and composure, reportedly struggled to hide the impact the letter was having on him. Some accounts claim he paused repeatedly while reading. Others suggest long periods of silence followed certain passages. Whatever the precise details, one theme remained consistent across every version of the story. The letter had reached him on a deeply emotional level. Yet perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the moment was the contrast it revealed. Charles was now king. The crown rested on his shoulders. He carried responsibilities stretching across nations, institutions, and generations. Yet despite that immense authority, he remained vulnerable to the words of a woman whose influence had shaped him since childhood. In that moment, the monarch and the grandson reportedly became one and the same, and while the emotional weight of those reflections was already profound, the letter was not finished with him yet. Yet the most powerful passage was still ahead, a passage that reportedly transformed the letter from a family reflection into something far more profound. According to various accounts circulating among royal observers, the Queen Mother's comments about Camilla were neither entirely critical nor entirely supportive. Instead, they reportedly reflected the complexity of a woman who understood both the fragility of the crown and the unpredictability of human relationships. The message was said to focus less on personalities and more on responsibility. It was a reminder that individual happiness could never be separated from the institution itself. As King Charles reportedly continued reading, the tone of the letter began to shift. The earlier reflections on duty, sacrifice, and the burdens of monarchy remained present, but now they appeared to converge around a single theme: the difficult relationship between personal choices and public consequences. According to Palace Whispers, the Queen Mother did not view royal life through the lens of simple victories or failures. She had witnessed too many crises for that. She understood that history was rarely divided into heroes and villains. Instead, it was shaped by individuals trying to navigate impossible circumstances while carrying responsibilities larger than themselves. It was from that perspective, many believe, that she allegedly addressed Camilla. Reports suggest the Queen Mother acknowledged the extraordinary transformation that had taken place over the years. Few figures in modern royal history experienced a more complicated journey than Camilla. The path from controversy to acceptance was neither quick nor easy. It unfolded across decades of scrutiny, criticism, and relentless public attention. According to interpretations of the letter, the Queen Mother recognized that reality. Yet rather than focusing on public perception alone, she reportedly concentrated on what Camilla's position meant within the broader framework of the monarchy. The issue was not whether individuals were liked or disliked. The issue was whether they understood the obligations attached to the institution they served. That distinction reportedly struck Charles with particular force. Throughout much of his life, he had faced a painful conflict between personal fulfillment and public expectation. The woman he loved had become one of the most controversial figures surrounding the monarchy. Every step forward often seemed accompanied by fresh resistance. Yet according to accounts surrounding the letter, the Queen Mother allegedly urged readers to look beyond personal loyalties. Her concern, sources suggest, was always the same: the long-term stability of the crown. Relationships mattered. Families mattered. But the monarchy itself, in her view, carried responsibilities that extended far beyond any individual generation. As the letter progressed, those themes reportedly became even more direct. References to continuity, reputation, and institutional trust appeared repeatedly, according to royal insiders. The Queen Mother allegedly warned that public confidence, once weakened, could take generations to restore. Every royal decision, no matter how personal it seemed at the time, ultimately contributed to the larger story the nation would tell about its monarchy. For Charles, those reflections may have felt both familiar and deeply unsettling. After all, few people understood better than he did how private choices could evolve into public controversies that lingered for decades. Yet what made the letter so powerful was its apparent refusal to embrace extremes. According to various interpretations, it did not condemn Camilla, nor did it offer unconditional approval. Instead, it reportedly balanced caution with understanding. The Queen Mother allegedly acknowledged human emotions while simultaneously emphasizing the responsibilities that accompany royal privilege. It was a perspective shaped by experience rather than sentiment, a perspective that recognized affection without allowing affection to override duty. And that balance may have been precisely what made the words so difficult for Charles to process. Reports suggest he paused repeatedly while reading these passages, not because the message was unclear, but because it forced him to confront questions that had followed him throughout much of his life. Questions about loyalty, Questions about sacrifice. Questions about whether personal happiness can ever truly exist separately from public responsibility when the future of an institution hangs in the balance. For a monarch already carrying the immense weight of leadership, those reflections reportedly landed with extraordinary emotional force. The deeper he moved into the letter, the more it seemed to transcend ordinary family commentary. What began as observations about Camilla reportedly evolved into something much larger, a meditation on service, legacy, and the enduring tension between the heart and the crown. And it was that balance between affection and responsibility that may have led to the most emotional moment of all. Those familiar with royal routines describe King Charles as remarkably disciplined, even during moments of immense pressure. Yet reports suggest this occasion was different. The letter was not merely a historical document. It was the voice of a beloved grandmother reaching across time. As the final pages unfolded, palace insiders claim the king struggled to maintain the composure that has defined much of his public life. The weight of memory, duty, and loss reportedly became impossible to ignore. According to royal observers, the final passages carried a significance that went far beyond family history. As Charles reportedly reached the conclusion of the Queen Mother's reflections, decades seemed to collapse into a single moment. The letter had taken him through memories of sacrifice, controversy, triumph, and heartbreak. But now it arrived at its most profound message. The Queen Mother's legacy was never simply about preserving tradition. It was about protecting the institution she had devoted her entire life to serving. Sources suggest Charles became deeply emotional as he reflected not only on her words but on the extraordinary example she left behind. Here was a woman who had endured wars, constitutional crises, family turmoil, and relentless public scrutiny, yet remained unwavering in her belief that the crown must always come before personal interests. Reports indicate that after finishing the letter, Charles spent considerable time in quiet reflection. The document had reportedly forced him to reconsider the relationships that shaped his life and the generations that came before him. It was no longer just a message about Camilla, nor was it simply a family reflection preserved in an archive. It had become a meditation on legacy itself. Senior aides allegedly recognized the emotional significance of the moment and gave the king privacy. Yet even as the immediate emotion faded, another realization began to emerge. The Queen Mother's final lesson was not focused on the past. It was focused on the future. According to various interpretations, the letter ultimately argued that every generation inherits the monarchy only temporarily. The crown does not belong to one king, one queen, or one family member. It belongs to history, and those entrusted with it serve merely as guardians for a brief chapter. That message reportedly resonated deeply with Charles as he considered his own reign. Questions surrounding modernization, tradition, public trust, and the future role of the royal family suddenly felt more urgent than ever. Camilla's place within that story mattered, but only as part of a much larger responsibility. The true challenge was ensuring that the institution endured long after the individuals at its center were gone. As discussions about the letter reportedly spread among royal commentators and historians, many began focusing on the same question Charles himself may have confronted while reading it. How does the monarchy evolve without losing the principles that define it? The Queen Mother's reflections appeared to offer no simple answers, only a reminder that duty, resilience, and stewardship must guide every generation. And while those lessons continued to echo through Buckingham Palace, another mystery remained unresolved. Yet even as those lessons settled over Buckingham Palace, another question remained unanswered. Why had this extraordinary letter been kept hidden until now? The existence of the letter may explain one mystery, but it creates another. Why was it preserved in silence for so many years? Royal archives are carefully managed, reviewed, and catalogued. Documents of significance rarely disappear by accident. This has fueled speculation that the timing of its rediscovery was just as important as its contents. Some believe the letter emerged precisely when the monarchy needed its message most. As discussions surrounding the document intensified, attention gradually shifted away from what the letter said and toward a different question altogether. How had a document of such apparent significance remained hidden for decades? According to royal commentators and historians, the answer may never be fully known. Some believe it was simply a matter of confidentiality, a personal reflection preserved out of respect for the Queen Mother's wishes. Others suggest the letter may have been intentionally reserved for a future generation, waiting for a moment when its message would carry the greatest meaning. Whatever the explanation, the mystery only deepened public fascination. Reports suggest that the timing of the letter's emergence felt almost symbolic. King Charles now sits on the throne during one of the most challenging periods of his life, carrying the responsibilities of monarchy while confronting personal and institutional pressures. Against that backdrop, the reappearance of a long-forgotten message from one of the monarchy's most influential figures seemed almost impossible to ignore. Historians, royal observers, and palace insiders reportedly found themselves debating the same question. Was this merely a remarkable archival discovery? Or had the letter arrived at exactly the moment it was needed most? Long after her passing, the Queen Mother remains one of the most influential figures in modern royal history. Through memories, traditions, and now this remarkable letter, her presence appears to linger within the corridors of power. Reports suggest King Charles left that meeting carrying more than a document. He carried a renewed understanding of what generations before him had sacrificed to preserve. And perhaps that was the letter's true purpose all along. According to those who have followed the story closely, the lasting power of the letter was never tied to controversy. It was tied to perspective. The Queen Mother's reflections reportedly encouraged Charles to view his reign not as an isolated chapter, but as part of a much larger historical journey. Camilla's role, the challenges facing the monarchy, and the pressures of a changing world all became pieces of a broader story about duty, resilience, and continuity. The lessons passed down through generations were clear. Individual figures may shape history, but the institution survives only when each generation accepts its responsibility to protect it. In the end, the renewed fascination with the letter may reveal something deeper about the monarchy itself. The crown is sustained not only by ceremonies and traditions, but also by the wisdom, sacrifices, and experiences passed from one generation to the next. The Queen Mother's influence continues to echo through those lessons, guiding decisions long after her passing. And as King Charles looks toward the future, the message reportedly left behind by his grandmother remains as relevant as ever, a reminder that leadership is temporary, but legacy endures. And as theories multiplied, one conclusion seemed impossible to avoid: the Queen Mother's influence had never truly faded. Because in the end, the letter was never simply about Camilla, it was about the enduring burden of the crown, and the generations forever bound to carry it forward. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in next one.